and we're going to talk about opening multiple tables and views in ACL. And this was a recent discussion on one of the, I believe it was either an ACL forum board or another forum board, where there's discussion about how to open up multiple tables in ACL and how to do that. So I wanted to show you how to do this. The first thing I wanted to note is that you can utilize the display command, which we just did a second ago, and that display command will allow you to see data table formats and be able to see them, in multiple ways. And we'll show some more examples of using those display push pins. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is actually opening up multiple tables by opening up multiple projects in ACL, so that as long as you're being a little careful here, not opening up 50 different projects, there is a way to kind of open up multiple tables and view across them at the same time. So okay, with that said, let me go into ACL and say this is our July 24th 2012 webinar. I'm just going to close that for a second just for a bit of safety reasons, and I'm going to bring over my hard drive here so you could see it, and we'll look at this ACL project. So one way that you can do it is you can just copy your ACL project by right-clicking, selecting copy, and then pasting it. So you just you do just a standard copy paste, and that creates a copy of the ACL document. I mean, I guess you could get crazy, and I've never done this, but we'll try it out today, where we can make 2 copies of it. Okay, so let me open up each one of these just by going back to my hard drive, opening up the copy, and opening up the third copy. So now, a little confusing, but I have 3 ACL items open. A lot of people have said, well, okay, if I'm in this table here, purchase table, I want to look at my paid table too. But notice I can only look at one at a time. I can't push pin it. I can't do anything. I can open one or the other. So another way to approach this is to go into my copy now and keep my purchase file open, and then go into the copy and open up my vendor file. And depending on what software you're running, I mean, I'm running Windows 7, so it shows it a little differently here. But I believe what you can utilize is maybe the Alt-Tab button will allow you to kind of also jump through the various projects, and that's using my Alt, and then I'm just hitting my Tab key to get around. But a lot of other people can just kind of select here and say, well, that's the purchase file. Whoops, sorry about that. That's the vendor file, and that's the purchase file. I think I opened up the purchase file on both. So we'll open up the paid file in another, purchase file in the first one, and the vendor file in the third one. And this does provide a little bit of a workaround in being able to open up multiple files at once in ACL, so that you can actually work with that and play with that. So I did want to show you how to do that in ACL. The other thing is, I'll just close these as now that you get the concept. The other thing that you could do is in our paid file, if we run a classify command and we run it on the enterer's initials and accumulate the check amount, in the output I'm just going to do this to a screen. I'm not going to do it to a file, and we hit the OK button. This is my output. Now I can push pin that at that point. So that's been push pinned. I can then go back and now classify on the, maybe not check number, but maybe PO issuer. Again, accumulate check amount, and now I have the PO issuer. So I have the enterer, PO issuer. I can push pin that. I can then run a display command, of my data file, and I can push pin that. And this allows you to kind of jump between things. So this works more so with the analyze commands. Like I'm looking at the data commands and really saying there's nothing here that I can do what I just said. But if I wanted to run a statistics and run it on everything as well, and then have those statistics available to me so that, as I'm going through my paid file, I go, what's the average amount of that check amount field? I just would like to know what that average amount is. I can go over to my statistics field and say, or statistics display and say, okay, that's the average. That's the net average for the check amount field. And we could do that for dates and other functions as well. This is something where if you are playing around with a data file for the first time and you're trying to learn that data file, this is a great technique to utilize in order for you to really understand your data. Like, what are the field lengths of my data file as I'm going through it? What are the average values, the average date values, etc., as I'm going through my file? What is the summary by enter as we go through our file? All of this is available to you as you take a look at your various pushpins in the display options.